I've always wanted to make a Paris Brest. Aren't they so cute looking? It's basically an eclair in the shape of a giant donut made of light and crispy choux pastry. I'll show you a little trick on how to make sure it's not soggy. And it's filled with hazelnut, pastry cream and dusted with powdered sugar. It's a French delight. There's a fair bit involved in making the hazelnut pastry cream. There's actually 3 recipes. The first recipe is the praline. So we're going to be adding some water, sugar, glucose syrup, toasted hazelnuts. I've left instructions on how to toast your hazelnuts in the written recipe on scranline.com, some almond flakes and salt, and we're going to stir this on medium-high heat until it gets nice and golden looking. Once it has, you're going to add some bicarb soda and then mix it in. Onto a well-oiled baking tray, we're going to spread this out and let it set until it's completely hard, just like a toffee. Once it has set, we're going to pop it into the bowl of a food processor, just break it up, and we're going to process it. It's going to want to make a lot of noise, so that's completely normal, but eventually it's going to turn kind of into the same floury consistency as almond meal. And then as you continue mixing for about 5 or 6 minutes, depending on how good your food processor is, it's actually going to start turning into a paste. Now when it turns into a paste, stop and scrape down and then continue processing until it turns into a smooth paste, nice and shiny, and this stuff is liquid gold, guys. Give it a try at this stage. You could even make this and drizzle it on top of ice cream or anything. Put it in a jar and eat it with a spoon. We're going to need it for our pastry cream, so we're going to set it aside in a bowl and cover it with plastic wrap. The next thing we're going to make is the actual pastry cream. So this is really easy. Add some flour, sugar, salt to a large mixing bowl and whisk it together. Then add your egg yolks and start whisking. Now, I would actually not use a whisk for this. I would use a spatula because using a whisk is completely pointless. It actually turns out to be really thick. And I ended up using a little bit of the hot milk to kind of thin it out. Once it has thinned out, you've mixed it, it's nice and smooth, add the rest of that hot milk. You're kind of tempering it, which is introducing the egg mixture to the hot milk slowly so that it doesn't scramble. Whisk it until everything is really well combined, add some vanilla extract, and then we're going to add this to a large pot on medium heat, and we're going to mix it with a wooden spoon. About 5 minutes after mixing, it's going to get nice and thick. Don't not mix this, otherwise it will burn. So continuously mixing until it thickens. Then we're going to add half of our cold butter. It's really important that it's cold. Otherwise, if it's warm or softened butter, it's going to melt really quickly. It's going to cause your lovely custard to split, and you don't want that. Once you've mixed that first lot in, add the second lot and mix it in. We're going to run this through a sieve just to get rid of any lumps. Cover it with plastic wrap, set it aside in the fridge for a couple hours to chill. Once it has, to a clean bowl of a food processor, we're going to process this until it's really smooth. This is a trick I learnt from my mum. When she would make custard for her version of tiramisu, she would make custard like this, put it in the food processor, it gets rid of any lumps, and it comes out silky, glossy, smooth. Then you're going to add the praline mixture that we made and mix it all together. Guys, give this another taste because it is so delicious. At this point, this part of the recipe, you could use it to fill eclairs and it would be absolutely golden. It's a really unique, delicious way to make custard. Put it into a bowl because we're going to be needing this a little bit later on to fill our Paris Brest. It's going to go in the fridge to chill for a little bit. We're going to move on to making the buttercream portion of the filling. So add some butter to a mixing bowl and whip it for about 5 minutes on high speed until it's nice and fluffy and pale. Then we're going to slowly start adding our hazelnut pastry cream. While the mixer is on high speed, guys, it's a lot, but we've finished with our pastry cream filling, and we're going to set this aside and move on to our choux pastry. To a large saucepan, you're going to add some water, butter, salt and sugar, and mix this until it's all completely melted and bubbly. Take it off the heat, add your flour, using a wooden spoon, and mix it until it forms a dough. Pop it back on the heat and continue mixing until the dough starts sticking to the bottom and creating kind of a film. About 5 minutes of vigorous mixing. Now what this helps do is it actually gets rid of the moisture inside the dough, so you end up with a nice hollow, crispy choux pastry shell. Let it cool for 10 minutes and then add it to a mixing bowl. I'm using a stand mixer. I'm going to mix this to begin with for about 30 seconds before I start adding my eggs one at a time. As you add each egg, let it mix in completely before adding the next egg. Now guys, what we're looking for here is a specific consistency. We don't want to necessarily use all 4 eggs. We may only need 3. The consistency we're looking for is a really smooth, shiny, glossy dough, which when you stretch it between 2 fingers doesn't break, but eventually it does break, but it's nice and stretchy. This is the consistency we're looking for. Add that to a piping bag fitted with a round tip, and we are ready to pipe. Now, to prepare our baking tray, I'm going to be using a large baking tray lined with some baking paper. We're going to use a 6-inch cake tin or something similar in size to trace around with a pen on top of the baking paper. Dab a little bit of that dough on each corner of the tray and flip it over. This is going to help it stick to the tray so it doesn't fly around in the oven. Pipe a ring of the pastry dough and then pipe another ring directly on top of that. Brush it with some egg wash, which is 1 egg mixed or whisked with 1 tablespoon of water or milk. This is going to give it a nice shiny look after it's baked, and it's also going to help our flaked almonds stick to the choux pastry. This is going to go in the oven for 35 to 40 minutes on 190 degrees Celsius. Once it's baked, let it cool completely in the oven. Don't take it out. What that does is it stops it from being heavy and soggy and creates that nice, crisp, dry choux pastry we're looking for. Use a serrated knife to carefully cut your ring in half. You can see it's nice and hollow on the inside, which is ready for lots of delicious filling. We're going to pipe a little bit of that pastry filling just on the bottom and then use a spatula to just flatten it. Then we're going to use a pastry bag fitted with a open star tip to pipe some swirls around our choux pastry ring. Add the other half on top, and guys, finish this off with a generous dusting of powdered sugar right before you serve it. I have always wanted to make one of these. I absolutely love French pastries. If you have suggestions of other French pastries you'd love to see me make, leave them in the comments down below, because I am obsessed with French pastries. This thing is absolutely delicious. You could fill this with just whipped cream if you don't want to go through the steps of making this particular pastry cream. You could even drizzle it with some of my 1 bowl chocolate sauce. The recipe for that is over on the website scranline.com. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next episode of the Scran Line. Oh, by the way, my latest episode on my other channel, the Scran Line Every Day, is up. Go check it out. Link for that is in the description box below. Make sure you subscribe to that channel. It's a really great community of people who love cooking savory foods, and I'm actually really enjoying sharing these recipes with you guys.